You might be doing everything right, yet somehow you're not recovered. Then you look on the internet and you see recovery stories. Some seem to be very easy. They did a few tools and suddenly they're healed. So what's the thing here? It's important to know that there are two different things here. On one hand, there is recovery, and on the other hand, there is healing. And these things actually couldn't be much further apart from each other. Recovery is about getting back to your old life. And as it turned out, there are ways to do that. And in order to understand that, we have to see that the brain perceives old stress whenever it comes to the surface as a danger, and at that moment it creates a freeze response. It shuts down and creates symptoms for your protection. Then the question is, what are you going to do with that stress? There are two options again. There is releasing it, and there is pushing it back inside of your body. Pushing it back inside of your body can mean soothing. That's not really necessarily a bad thing. It can also mean a stop technique, which also doesn't have to be a bad thing. For example, when you stop an emotion, you can also stop yourself in a negative spiral. Negative spirals never help you, but it never resolves the root issue of why you had that symptom in the first place. Therefore, many people, they arrive at this place of the 70% recoveries. And then they're stuck, then they're waiting, and all of a sudden it doesn't seem to go as they planned. Right at the moment when people have these 70% recoveries, they think they're almost there. No, they're just getting started. As it turned out, going to these 70% recoveries, they're very unstable, to make that clear. But that's actually the place where you can dive into the root cause of your emotions, of your body. Before that, it's probably too overwhelming. Therefore, there are places where soothing and stopping emotions can be really good. But if soothing and pushing it back inside of your body is the only tool that you're having, you're setting yourself up for failure. Maybe you have 1 year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, but eventually it will come back to the surface again. So then you think you have a relapse, right? Or a remission. No, it doesn't work like that. People say then that healing is non-linear. Well, you could say it like that, but I'd like to say that healing is layered. Maybe you have stored 1,000 layers of stress in your body. Would you expect yourself to process 3 or 4 layers a day to be able to heal completely in 1 year? I mean, that's probably nightmarish, probably too overwhelming. After you have processed the exact emotional layer that is causing the symptoms, you can become symptom-free until the next layer arises. Maybe you'll manage a full release, maybe a partial release, maybe a gradual release. Maybe you slowly improve, you slowly feel better. But sometimes you're on a plateau and you can't manage to release your symptoms immediately. Maybe it takes a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And you need that time for the capacity to deal with the underlying layer. Usually it means that the next layer that the brain is perceiving as a danger is a bit more overwhelming than the previous layer. Do you have a relapse at that moment? No. There's just the next layer. And you can release that when you're ready. A lot of times I receive comments here on YouTube that whenever I am not really fond of a recovery tool, that people say, why am I so negative about this? Because it certainly helps for some people. And yes, it certainly can help you temporarily. But it's not the business that I'm in. For me, I don't want you to recover. I want you to actually heal. I can squeeze your stress back into your body. I mean, there are lots of tools for that. But I care more about long-term results. And you have to know that whenever there is stress inside of your body, there is nervousness, there is anxiety. Maybe you're not really aware of it, but you're probably aware of the thoughts that accompany with it. So you might be overthinking, maybe you even identify with it. And that's not really health, you know? Thoughts are always a problem-solving technique. And after a full release, you might experience that your thoughts become quiet until the next layer arises. And in the beginning, when I first experienced that, I was like, what's going on? I was looking around. This is so weird. My entire identity was gone. And then it kicked back in. And then I was like, oh, happy. I'm still myself. But none of that is actually helpful and healthy. Therefore, I think it's so important to go much deeper. Healing is not something that happens overnight. It takes time. It also always deepens itself. Even when you no longer have symptoms anymore, you can still choose to continue on a journey to deepen your experience of being yourself, of speaking your truth, and of learning to feel more about yourself and becoming more sensitive. It's a never-ending journey. Maybe after 1 or 2 or 3 years of doing this, you'll no longer have symptoms, but maybe they also come back every once in a while. That's perfectly fine. Especially when you're more advanced in this, you can experience that you have an instant release after doing some emotional work. So maybe, let's say you wake up with some symptoms. Time progresses, okay, I have to do something. You start engaging with a release tool, and you probably feel better after that. So at a certain moment, all of these symptoms that bother you right now, whether it is stress, anxiety, for example, or a crash, depression, fatigue, a migraine, all of these things don't matter anymore because you know exactly what it is. You'll find the underlying reason in your body, the thing that the brain perceives as a danger. You engage with it. You probably start crying, shaking, shivering, and then you feel better and you just continue with your day until maybe in a few days, something else comes to the surface. We don't panic about it. We just repeat the process. And that is a very beautiful process. Like I literally think it's the most amazing thing that I've, well, anyway, I like it. And if you would like to know more about the beautiful side effect of healing, then I made this video and I highly recommend it because nobody talks about it. And I know you're struggling, but that video can really help you to get a different perspective on healing. Thanks for watching.